What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Shred Spot. This is my friend Dylan. He came up to ride with me today. We've been dying to ride together for a minute, and the weather just won't cooperate, so we're going to send it inside the warehouse instead. So I'm going to take him in. We're going to do a little warm-up. We're going to have a little gap session, and I'm going to show him that new Canyon bike that just showed up as well. Come on inside, and let's go for a ride.
Pretty sweet.
No pedals, but everything
Holy
else is...
smokes, that is really light. Are these 200 mil?
203, yeah.
Wow.
Like, I think they're e-bike rotors, actually. I haven't ridden any of these SQ Lab components yet, so I'm actually really curious to see. This is an 84 mil rise bar too, so that should be pretty nice.
It looks a lot more dirt jumpery than
Apparently the geometry is super close to Inspired Foreplay. So I think it's like just a small, it's a little bit shorter wheelbase, but other than that, it's pretty much the exact same.
This is the factory spec?
Yeah, this is straight out of the box.
That's just the Trial Tech tensioner.
Yeah, it looks like it, huh?
It has a little I haven't seen that clip before. That's actually super cool.
Okie doke. Let's warm up and move some boxes and ride around.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this guy in a little bit. Put him over with the rest of all the test bikes. You know, one thing I gotta say is that having someone to ride with in the warehouse makes all the difference in the world. It's so good. You know, I've fallen down a couple times in here all by myself, and it's kind of scary. And so I've kind of been not really that excited to push anything when it comes to gaps or side hops or really any technique. So just even having somebody in here just gives you that extra little level of confidence. It's all the mental stuff at this point in my riding that make the biggest amount of difference. And so having somebody in here to actually shred with and, you know, kind of give me a little push is going to make for a good session. I'm fired up.
No worries now. Oh!
The basic warm-up is more or less over at this point, so we're going to start having some fun with the configuration of all the boxes here. Call this the advanced warm-up, but we're just going to make some new lines that maybe we haven't ridden in here yet, or just to kind of continue pushing the boundaries until we get super warmed up. You know, the fun part about this setup too is that when you're out riding with someone else, you're always trying to build lines for each other to ride. So it's a bit of like follow the leader, where we find a path through and then we try to add to it and build on it and add to it and maybe make things more complex as we go along. So this is a good first start of just boxes lily padded out, gapped out, so that we can actually just hop and hop and hop and work on a handful of different skills, staying on the back wheel, doing sort of high consequence gaps. Like there's a handful of things that we're working on at once, but then as we move things around, as we do different things, we're gonna think about other things we could do to make it more complicated, more difficult, push ourselves in different directions. And that's what makes riding with someone else pretty fun.
My forearm is done. That looked exhausting.
That's the Iron Man line.
That's called forearm pump.
Yo, before I forget to mention, Dylan has a YouTube channel too. I'm going to put the link in the description below. You should all go follow him too. I'm not actually sure what this is going to feel like.
Oh, that was so good. Oh my gosh, that was it. Yeah!
Oh, dude. What?
Whiskey.
Whoops. It's kind of fun. I think I could get hooked on that.
Oh.
We're gonna convert you to 26 and maybe competition.
Trust me, you already have. You just don't know it.
Street guy on a comp bike.
All right, it's time to work on gaps, and we're gonna start with a really mellow warm-up. This is a 4-foot gap, just to get the blood flowing a little bit, just to get confident and start locking in the form, because ultimately, the majority of what we're doing in gaps doesn't necessarily change the farther you go. You just accentuate everything a bit more, and you've got a little bit more mental confidence going into it. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're starting mellow, we're starting at this distance just to get everything rolling so it's not a huge shock when you start really pushing it out. So we're gonna start at 4 feet and we'll take it from there. Also, if you wanna learn how to do gaps, there's a video, I'll put the link in the description below, but we just did a gap video how-to. You might wanna check it out. Just like I've been doing on side hop. Since I'm in the warehouse, we're gonna make sure we know exactly what we're working with. Basically a bike length. There you go.
Oh, come on. For everyone watching at home, this is like the comparison. Just. Oh!
What are you talking about?
Let's freaking go.
Pretty much 6 feet. 6 foot and a half inch. There's always one thing you can practice when you're working on any skill, and for me, when it comes to gaps, it's definitely about my takeoff. I always take off too far away from the ledge. I'm losing so much distance, it's kind of crazy. We're at 78 inches, 6'6". Progress. The best part about this session is that I have the legend himself, Damon Watson, on WhatsApp. I'm sending him videos of my attempts, and he's helping give me feedback in real time that I can start applying here. So I have a feeling that over time, my gaps are gonna get so much better because I'm getting voice memos from the man himself. Honestly, if you're gonna get gap advice from anyone, it should definitely be Damon Watson. Mental. You hear that?
For those of you who don't know what a free wheel skip is, it's really bad.
I feel like I'd definitely go farther though. I'm so sketched out on that three-wheel thing. Should we put the pedals on the Canyon and give it a shot?
I think before both of us are worn out.
Before we get worn out, I think it's time to test out the Canyon. Just a little quick session. Okie doke, it's time to give this bike a little bit of a test as promised. This hasn't been ridden at all. In fact, it doesn't even have pedals. So we're gonna throw some pedals on it real quick and then we'll give it a little test. We got a little street course built here, so this should be kind of fun to at least give it a first go. We just gotta tighten a few things, tweak a few things, and we can actually test it proper. I got scolded for having the seat too high in a photo, so here we go, I gotta slam it down. All right, we've given this bike a complete once-over. We put pedals on it, we dialed in the brakes, we tightened everything to spec. So now let's give it a little test and see how it rolls around first try. Probably some stuff still has to break in, but that's what this warehouse is for. All right, first ride.
It looks like a foreplay.
First go, not bad. You wanna give it a shot?
It looks like a foreplay.
It feels like one, I think.
The brakes just need to be worn in, but it feels really stiff.
Yeah, the power transfer when you're on a carbon bike is so crazy because there's zero flex in the frame itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than the brakes needing to be worn in. It's definitely really weird to go from a competition bike right onto this bike, because any bike would feel kind of weird, but it does feel a lot. You know what I should do is grab my 4Play and ride them back to back.
It's like a trail bike versus a downhill bike. There's some...
I mean, the brakes aren't broken in, so there's
Yeah.
definitely a little bit of happening. So here's the deal. The engagement on this hub is definitely not the same as an Industry 9 or a Hope hub. And you know my first question when I pulled this thing out of the box, what's the difference between this and the Inspired team bikes? And that's it, it's the rear hub. Overall, the rest of the spec on this bike is really similar to what you'd get on one of those bikes. You've got the same set of cranks, same kind of bash ring, same brakes. Everything else is about the same. So if I was gonna buy this bike, pull it out of the box, and get it ready for me, I would just swap out this back wheel with, you know, a Hope or Industry 9 or something like that that's a trial specific hub. So I'm just gonna ride this bike and see how I can do on it. It's not like I can't ride trials on it. It's not like I can't do lots of fun stuff with this bike. It's not like it's incapable of doing the stuff I wanna do. It's just, if you were riding at your maximum level, you would probably swap it out. But for most people who are just getting their first bike or just getting into trials, this will be just fine to get you started. It's just the people that want that last 10% out of the bike to make sure that it's doing everything perfect. That's all you need to change. So we had to do just a little test of the Canyon. I mean, it's been sitting in the warehouse without pedals. We had to throw some on just to see what it was gonna feel like. But I'd say that today's session was actually pretty successful. Thanks, Dylan, for showing up and riding with me. We're definitely gonna have to take this bike out on a street ride and give it a proper session, because
I agree.
it needs a little bit more than that. And I've got some time that I need to spend with that crew curse to get up to full power when it comes to gaps and side hops. But a great session. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. If you haven't already, go check out Dylan's YouTube channel as well. I'll put the link right here.